Hello, future millionaires, and welcome back to the Get Rich Slow podcast. We're your hosts, Adrian Shermer, Rob Delavan, and a substitute today, Ashley Whaley, subbing in for Lance Johnson. Good morning, Ashley.
Good morning.
Good
Thanks for having me.
Good morning,
Ashley,
Rob.
nice to have you here. Adrian, as always.
And you can find us online on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, YouTube, and Stitcher, among other streaming platforms. Today, we're going to be starting episode 1 of 3. We're going to do a 3-part series with Cathy Winslow. Cathy works with Globe Life Family Heritage Division. And hey, Cathy, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Glad to have you, Cathy, today. We're looking forward to this. This will be fun.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Cathy.
Hey.
Cathy helps protect individuals and families financially when their lives are turned upside down by a cancer diagnosis, accidental injury, heart attack, stroke, or an ICU stay. So, we're all about get rich slow here, but as much as getting rich slow is important, protecting that wealth and protecting your position when something hits the fan is of equal importance. So we want to get into that and learn about, what made you into the person you are today, Cathy.
Cool.
This will be fun. And for those of you that are watching the actual PowerPoint here presentation, you can see her entire family. Where was this again, Cathy?
Disney World.
Disney World. And I assume that's
unmistakable.
Is that Brer Rabbit on the front there? Like this is
nice.
What's that ride?
Splash Mountain.
Splash Mountain, right? That's it.
The
is it
log
Splash
ride.
Mountain? The log ride.
Yeah.
What's
I
it
can't
called?
remember. I can't remember.
It's
what
Splash Mountain. I went every
called.
summer when I was a kid. So
Okay,
or every winter
yeah.
break, actually.
Okay.
Lucky me. You got a resident expert.
And that was right at the point where it's like, oh my God, they just sprayed a whole bunch of water on us. So I'm completely
cool.
drenched.
Yes.
We're all shocked.
And I like it with hubby there holding his camera, trying to get a video. Hopefully it didn't ruin his phone, but
It didn't, but it was funny.
One of those things. So
Right.
very good.
Awesome. Well, these are really fun, these book recommendations. I know you guys just started putting these into your guys' podcasts, but Cathy, thank you for sharing this book recommendation. I am a believer that leaders are readers. So do you want to give a little recap on The Integrity of Selling for the 21st Century by Ron Willingham?
Yes. So I recommended this book because years ago, one of the sales jobs I had, that was how they trained us with this book as a guide. And so it just breaks down the selling process and makes it more of a, like it says, how to sell the way people want to buy instead of pushing products on people. You actually have conversations, you get to know them, find out, what their needs are and where the hot points are. And then slowly but surely you get the sale that way by getting to know and building relationships with people. So
are you saying that the old way of cold calls and shoving things down people's throat that they don't want is maybe not as effective?
Not at all.
Like
Nope.
novel idea, huh?
Right, exactly. Yep.
Hey Adrian, how is it when you say you need a mortgage?
Yeah. Hey, buy a house. Get it down.
Right. Like, no.
Nobody does phone sales anymore. There's no call. I feel like there's no cold call. It's just people calling being like, hey, I want to scam you for money.
Yeah.
You just skip the whole, actually give you something in return part.
Or they send you a recording.
Your car home warranty.
Yeah, exactly. Well, of course, my car warranties are hopelessly out of date.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Even though they're new cars, but whatever. So anyway, always
Last
fun.
chance.
Thank you for the recommendation.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so question 1. Cathy, give us a little bit of your background. Where did you grow up?
Okay, this will be an easy one. I grew up in Eugene, Oregon.
Okay.
We lived in North Eugene area and grew up in the same house that my parents moved like 2 weeks after they moved there. They had me, and literally I had lived there my whole life. So until I flew the coop. So
there you go. Until they didn't let the door hit you on the way out.
Right, exactly.
When you were
kicked
off
me
the
out.
payroll, right?
Yeah.
And family, siblings, that sort of thing. What did that look like?
So I grew up in a family with 4 kids, my brother being the oldest, then myself and my sister And then we were all a year apart. And then 7 years later, we had a little sister. So 4 of us. Yep. Six in the family.
That's cool.
Yep.
And she grew up with a very different upbringing than the other 3, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Isn't it always how that works? The youngest one always gets like the good stuff, and the older ones always get the hand-me-downs. Very
Right.
good.
Mom and dad are tired by then. They're like, yes,
I know.
do it. Sure.
My mom was like, I had 2 in diapers and 1 of you walking. The first 3 of us. And
Right.
yeah, so but I'm the oldest girl, so I never had hand-me-downs. So my sisters did.
There you go. That's the one benefit of being the oldest one. And were you a bit of a mother for the younger ones, or did that dynamic develop, or no?
Yeah, for our little sister, the one that's a year younger than me, we're just like best friends growing up. We shared a room all our life. The younger sister got her own room. But it was cool. We're still really close. So that was good.
That's awesome.
Cathy, what was your childhood like?
Oh, sorry, my AirPods were doing something funky. So this and those, I wrote it all out because I'm trying to remember. Okay, what it was so long ago.
So long ago. Don't date yourself, Cathy.
I know, I better not. Soon enough, you'll find out. No, my left AirPod isn't working right now. Okay, so pretty much, I had what I consider a normal childhood. I already told you about my siblings, my family. My dad was a farmer. He grew blackberries and wheat. The fields, we grew up in the North Eugene area, and then the fields were like 20 minutes away in Junction City. And so had those. And then during the fall, he ran a nut dryer that was at my grandparents' house in Eugene. And so,
hold on. So daughter. A nut dryer, like you pick like hazelnuts and then dry them type thing, or?
So what the farmers would bring all around, they bring their walnuts and filberts and even plums to be dried into prunes. But you have to pull the moisture out of the nuts before you can sell them. And so that's what they did. They brought them in, and they're in these huge big bins, and I mean, it was a big operation. So
interesting.
Very, very busy.
Does he still do that? Is Dad
he passed away.
Still with us here?
He passed away in 2003. So.
Okay. But I mean, that sounds like quite an operation.
Yeah. And that was, the biggest operation was my maiden name is Bruner. Bruner. So Bruner Berry Farms, as it was called. So the blackberries was the main business. So, I mean, we were working since, I think I was 10 when we started working in the berry fields. And we had these a couple of berry picking machines. So those were for the more mature fields. The younger fields we had to pick by hand. And so by the time we were able to work on what we call the picker, we were making $5 an hour, while the minimum wage back then was $2.65 an hour. So our friends were making that, working in fast food, and we thought, woohoo, we hit the jackpot.
Nice.
Did you get paid by the flat?
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
You get paid by the flat, right? So the faster you can work, the more you can make.
Yeah. Well, so when we picked by hand, they were buckets, but then the buckets would go into flats. Yep. And oh my God, I remember when I first started, it was like 40 cents a bucket. And I might have picked like 4 buckets in a day.
Oh, wow.
Boy. Okay. That's tough.
And then my dad hired a crew of Hispanic people who were of Hispanic descent, and they were such hard workers, and they were just like picking. So I mean, they were fast. So
way faster. They're not doing 4 buckets a day.
And we were busy having berry fights and everything,
Yeah, that's. I could see maybe the motivation is a little different for the kids, right?
Right. Exactly.
So it's interesting that this comes up. We've actually interviewed in some other episodes just in the last few months. We've interviewed multiple folks that actually grew up in the farming community. And, obviously that's not where you're at today. Obviously there's a lot of hard work and discipline and work ethic that goes into that, maybe outside of the berry fights. Is that a common theme for you?
For as far as
you're working and you're working at a young age.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we pretty much, when we worked, we had to use the money to buy our own school clothes, most of them, things like that. So yeah, we were taught early on the value of hard work and, being humble and things like that. My dad was a really, really good boss, but we teased him a lot. And he was a good entrepreneur too. He was very shrewd and just taught us that, he'd always say, what do you think we're made of money? You need to work hard and be street smart, all these little tips I remember him giving us in the past. But we tried to make it fun, but we're like, oh, this sucks, we're in the fields. But I'm glad we had that experience because it teaches you, to really appreciate.
Question 3, Cathy, thank you so much for being here. I have just so enjoyed getting to know you and your story. And that's so cool that you have that, farmer's daughter work ethic in you, because I remember friends growing up that grew up on the farm and it was like, they always had money. Like all my friends that grew up on the farm always had money. And it was because they worked really hard all the time. So it's really cool to see how that's transitioned into your work ethic now. So thank you so much for just sharing that, kind of brief snapshot of what your childhood was like. So what is a significant story that has made an impact on your life?
So I actually have 2 things that happened in my life that really made a huge impact. And so I was thinking, should I go on with these 2 stories? Because they might take a little while, but I guess I will. The first event that really made an impact on my life and my career was in May of 91. I was working for a company kind of on I've been in sales my whole life. So I was working for a boxed chocolate company, Russell Stover. And, went from sales rep to key accounts rep. And I was up in Seattle at the time too. That's what moved me up there. And I've been at the company about a year and a half, got promoted to district manager, and there were only 16 DMs in the whole country. And so I was in charge of nine reps within 6 states. And so right around the time when I was going to start training after being promoted, I needed to fly to Kansas City, Missouri. That's where they're based out of. But I've been waking up and seeing double vision and also feeling numbness in my feet and legs. I'm like, what the heck? I never had glasses or anything. So by the time I got there, I was seeing double 24/7. And I was talking about it to a coworker, and the vice president of sales was in there training us. And he's like, what's going on? Hey, we need to get you the emergency room right away. Yeah. I'm like, all right, okay. I'm in this strange city, and I go there, and so in the ER, the doc, I had a CAT scan, and they suggested, okay, you should probably fly back to Seattle and have more tests done. And so I flew back, and bottom line, long story short is that they did MRIs and everything. Turned out I was diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis. Wow. And I was like, God, this, I'd never had anything serious before. And I'm just like, wow, I have this incurable disease. What the heck? I knew nothing about it. So, that really rocked my world because I'd just been promoted to this position. And and I just, it made me reevaluate things because I was so focused on my career. I was 26 years old and I was just working really hard. And I thought, what's most important? Health, family, and friends, and then my career. Really, some of us get so focused that we lose sight of other things like our health.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that
was a silver lining then.
Wow.
Blessing in disguise to be able to kind of reevaluate, where you were headed, right? So did you end up leaving Russell Stover then?
No, I continued to work as a district manager for about a year and a half. And then I ended up moving on. A lot of people start off in consumer product sales and then they move into like medical or dental. And so I actually went to work for a dental company root canal, root canal
Oh.
supplies,
Oh yeah.
Candy.
ironically.
Yeah.
All the candy that's now rotting the teeth.
I know. I know. People ask me what
Playing both sides. I like that.
I know. I would say, I created the customers, so I had
Yeah.
to work in dental.
It's the same database.
Yes. Right.
Absolutely. Yes.
Of course.
So yeah, so I was in sales for many years. And then I told you there were two major events. So
Yes.
the next event happened in 2007. So I'd been married. I got married for the first time in 2001, had our first son the next year. And my husband, Rusty, had been experiencing abdominal pains for a couple of years. And he was all, I kept saying, you need to get it checked. And he's like, yeah, after the golf tournament, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And, but at the same time, I was like, I really want to have two kids. And at that point I was 43. So here I told you I'd be talking about my age. So we decided to go through fertility treatments. And so he had continued to have abdominal pains off and on. And so finally I became pregnant. And so he finally, and then around the same time, he was just in excruciating pain. So finally got him in, and in November of 2007, they pretty much had to open him up and do surgery, and they found out he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Oh, geez.
So I don't know, and he was 46 years old, and I was at that point a couple months pregnant. So 4 months later, he passed away, March 31st of 2008, and I was 6 months pregnant at the time.
Gosh.
And our son was 4, and excuse me, and so yeah, I mean, talk about major event that happened.
Sure.
It was just, it really rocked my world.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine, like, just what that would feel like, let alone how you would even manage getting through the day-to-day of life. That's just,
I know. Yeah, it was just, and you just pretty much, I guess, go into survival mode, because I had to be there for my 4-year-old son, and I was pregnant, trying not to be, so anyway, had my youngest son 3 months after my husband died, at the end of actually June 27th. So he's coming up on 14 years old now. So
that's awesome. Maybe a blessing that you were pregnant then, just give you something to, there's no choice. You got to take care of that kid, right?
I know. It's one thing. Yeah. I realized later on, God, I think I delayed my grief because I was so focused on, I have to be strong for my son. I have to be strong. And so,
and a baby makes you numb anyway, right? Like you're kind of like,
you're too tired to be sad.
Right.
Exactly.
Just pass out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I know. I'd be sitting there with a Kleenex box, just, crying, and my son would, are you crying again? He'd like bring me Kleenex. Like, I know, I'm sad. So
4-year-olds, 4 and 5-year-olds are very honest.
Yeah.
So
I know.
Which isn't always a bad thing. And the things they say.
Refreshing.
So was there, I mean, obviously you're in the insurance industry, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves on that sort of thing, but this episode is, looking backwards, and, obviously this was incredibly impactful for your life. I mean, maybe just a little bit of a plug here in the sense of, I mean, was there life insurance involved?
Yes. Thank God.
Like, you weren't also broke and grieving with the baby on the way and a 4-year-old. Like,
right. Yes.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. I mean, and I was fortunate enough to have investments, but that was incredibly helpful to have the life insurance as well.
Yeah.
And so
not that we're plugging life insurance, but honestly, if you're going to be an adult, you should have life insurance.
Absolutely.
It's fair. I think life insurance is one of those professions that can sometimes get a bad rep because there are a lot of money grubby people in there. I get the same in my industry. There's just people who enter it just because they want to make some extra cash, and that's really the goal for them. But you've obviously, I think that's one of the big reasons we had you on to be our representative in the insurance realm, because you've got genuine experiences to draw on as to why insurance, was more than just financial coverage, it makes a difference. And gosh, even just this last year, I had a client who we were going to refinance, and the husband passed away halfway through the transaction, and it killed the whole thing. And there was this extra layer of devastation to her because she just couldn't afford the lifestyle that they had built together. So I'm really looking forward to finding out more about your business and how you operate, because I genuinely believe every one of our audience members can benefit from understanding how insurance works and what the best fit is to make sure that, the people they care about are protected.
Absolutely.
Including themselves.
Really saved me. And then at the end of the year, 08 was economically, or for businesses, a lot of businesses were going out of business,
right,
or making cutbacks. And the company I work for, Lifeline Screening, they I set up ultrasound events for risk of stroke and things. So they did away with my ultrasound team at the end of the year, and then they had to let me go. They felt really bad because they knew my situation and stuff. And I was like, that's it. I'm taking a year off, moving back to Oregon. Yeah. That's it. So
wow.
And I ended up in with the economy and thinking, oh my God, the housing. But I was in a 1-level house, which wasn't very common in the area I was in, Bonnie Lake, Washington. So my house sold within 4 months.
Okay.
And I bought a house, sold my house, and bought the house in Wilsonville within a week of each other. It just I closed. So it totally worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then that year off, was that a pretty impactful from just being there for your boys?
Yeah. And it turned into 10 years.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I never thought in a million years I would be a single mom. I waited so long. I was 37 when I got married first time, and I waited so long. But yeah, so moved back to Oregon because I have family in Oregon, and I tried a job for a little while, and it just wasn't my thing. So it wasn't what I like to do. So I just kind of took my time, and it ended up. I'm like, oh my God, it's 9 or 10 years I took off.
Wow.
So, but it was great to have the time to spend with my kids.
Yeah.
Raising my kids. So.
We'll talk about an impact. I mean, geez, they're just big deals, right? And these are what shape us. So, and it'll be fun to explore that, as we work through, the next couple episodes.
All right, Cathy, where can we find you? Where can our audience find you?
Well, you can email me at cwins2020@gmail.com, or you can call or text me at 503-862-6980. And I also have an Instagram at Globe Life FHD. So that's F as in Frank, HD. And my Facebook page is Cathy Winslow Agent, Cathy with a C. And so then, we're working on, you can also look at my website, cathywinslow.com.
cathywinslow.com. Got it. FHD, like Family Heritage Division of Globe Life. Check it out. You can also check it in the show notes. We'll have links to Cathy, as well as Delavan Realty, my stuff for the mortgage, and ROI Financial for Lance Johnson. Ashley, thank you again for subbing in. I know you're going to be with us for the next couple episodes while Lance gets some stuff taken care of. You can find out more about what we're doing locally at roi-fa.com/events. We've got mix and sip and mingle events. We've got learn and grows. There's a summer bash coming up, I know. And there's some holiday photos as well. So check out our calendar at roi-fa.com/events to find out how you can meet up with us and maybe meet some other very cool people that we are fortunate enough to have in our circle. That about wraps it up for episode 1 of 3 of the Get Rich Slow podcast series with Cathy Winslow. We look forward to hearing you talking to you guys next time.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
Cathy.
Thank you.